How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Down to Earth, Kristian Harloff. We've talked about it on this channel many times over, as I usually preface it, where we had David Grush, had the hearings with him, Ryan Graves, David Fravor, and they brought a lot of attention when they were in front of Congress, and they had like this big hearing. And then not soon after was the Mexican hearings, and there was a little bit more emphasis on the stuff flying around the sky, and it was getting some notice. And then what the big talk of that hearing was when Jamie Moussan brought out these supposed, what they were calling them mummies, and saying alien bodies. Or he didn't necessarily say alien bodies when he brought them out, but that's what everybody was saying. And right away, initially, everybody said, hoax. This guy had been involved in these hoaxes before. These things are paper mache. There was cake memes made about him, and everyone just wrote it off, including yours truly. I thought at one point, I'm like, this is come on, enough of this. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't pay it any attention. But it started to get more serious, and more people started talking out about it because there started to be more scientists that were looking into it and looking into the bodies and kind of discovering, not necessarily if they are of alien descent, just basically saying that these are actual bodies. They're actual things. I don't know what they are. Could be different species, could be different things that lived here before. We don't know. But there's, as Dr. Gary Nolan said, there was interesting data. The data was interesting enough to keep looking. Well, it extends past just the scientists now, because Jamie Moussan met with Tim Burchett, who's been pretty vocal in the whole UAP thing. And this is an article that just came out. U.S. Congress to investigate the controversial Peru alien mummies and fears could be linked to UFOs. Peru's famous alien mummies are set for the U.S., where Congress has pledged to crack the mysterious case once and for all. Tim Burchett, known for his outspoken criticism of the U.S. government's secrecy on UFOs, vowed to assemble the most important people in the world to examine the bodies, which some scientists claim harbor 30% unknown DNA. The congressman said he would initiate this new analysis at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, in his home state. Picture right here. The team at Tennessee have obtained $500,000 from the Department of Justice late last year to better understand skeletal remains and relic DNA. You see them doing the actual investigating of it. Burchett has not called the bodies alien yet. His plan is sure to spark furor akin to the firestorm that accompanied the mummy's debut before Mexico's Congress last September. Legal experts also told the DailyMail.com that despite Burchett's best efforts, U.S. treaty agreements with Peru could delay transnational shipment of the eerie remains. The Republican lawmaker made his pledge to veteran Mexican broadcast journalist and profile UFO researcher Jamie Moussan in a new interview, which aired Monday. He says, I will gladly help. During his appearance on Moussan's No Humano, I would be interested in getting some people to analyze those bodies that are independent of the federal government, the congressman added, echoing a myriad past comments in which he has accused federal officials of a UFO cover-up. We will look into the most important people in the world, Burchett said in the Spanish-translated interview right here in Tennessee. The University of Tennessee, Knoxville, the school that the congressman referenced as a likely candidate for this work, is home to an internationally recognized center for the forensic examination of human remains, the Body Farm. And it goes on and on and on. There's more detail inside of this, but I think that the story itself here is the fact that this is beyond now. If you so I want to take the Burchett angle here. If you're Tim Burchett and you're already putting your career and validity, reputation on the line by talking about David Grush and talking about what's in the sky and the fact that there's cover up and all that, well, you're adding an extra layer onto it with this. You're also bringing validity to it if it turns out that you're actually going to get these scientists that you prove to go look at it, and people who more and more, this is what we said in the beginning, why don't they just find people, the best in the world to go look at it to put an end to this thing? And it looks like that's what he wants to do. There's a lot more to this. So where I told you guys earlier that I just kind of wrote it off a little bit, didn't really take it too serious, my guest has been taking it serious and has been talking about it on his channel. And of course, that's Pavel with a slick haircut. Looking good.
What's up, Kristian?
What's up? So, all right, let's talk about this story overall. Not the the big arching what's going on, in general with this thing. But this particular story with Burchett, Jaime Moussan, how important is this for validity of this story?
Yeah. So the way I see it is that there are three options here. Um, the Body Farm, which is very well known place facility in Tennessee, is the place where we can assess whether these are real or not, like
Mm-hmm.
for sure. So that's why Jaime wanted to bring them to this state specifically. And coincidentally, he also has a house in Tennessee. So,
Jaime does.
it, yeah. So this is, it fits well for what he's planning to do. Because right now, the scientific community, the mainstream scientific community, still claims that these bodies are constructions and they're not real. The Ministry of Culture in Peru is claiming the same thing. There's an open lawsuit for $300 million going on right now that Jaime is currently on the about to win it, basically. And if he confirms this, I don't know, man. He could like save his career from all that slander that made us go like, huh, in the first place,
Sure,
you know?
sure. And I think as far as his angle goes, yes, this is a win-win. This is a win for him. Because if he goes and meets a Burchett, Burchett says, "Here, we're going to help you out," and they help him out, and then it turns out we didn't find anything substantial. We're still working on it. Nobody's really. They're saying, "Okay, I'm still looking for people to get this thing validated." No skin off his back, right? I mean, I'm sure if you asked him that, he would say, "Well, no, I want people to actually validate this," but nothing really hurts. However, if it turns out that these things either aren't real, there's your wild goose chase. If I'm anybody inside of the UAP community in Congress, I'm saying to Burchett, what are you doing? Why is this the fight that you're deciding to fight? Unless it all adds up and it's all part of, because what if they decide, they bring the best scientists in the world, like you said, they find out, they validate it's not, and making it clear that not necessarily that this is an outer worldly body, but it's just and we've always said this, we find new species all of the time. All of the time, they find
That's what the evidence is leaning towards
is that
right now.
that's like, what if years upon years before the damn dinosaurs? Who knows? Whenever it was. I'm just saying, whenever these things tend to be, and it's like, no, this is what was here before, and we just never knew that they were here, and it's not they're of Earth, they just are. It's a different species.
And also, Jaime, at the beginning, he didn't say that they were extraterrestrial. He
Right.
just said that they were interesting. But recently, he has been pushing this hybrid theory, which I definitely do not agree with.
What's the
because
theory?
the evidence
What theory
is not
that?
showing that.
What theory is that?
When I spoke to the DNA expert, he told me that there was a possibility of finding a procedure that was discovered in 1987 called CRISPR-Cas9, which is essentially allows for genes to be combined from different species.
Oh, that's what, and we talked about that, and that's what Danny Sheehan and all that stuff was talking about.
And
too,
I
right?
do not agree with that specifically,
Right.
Because the evidence right now is showing that if they are ancient, they're a species from here,
Right.
that we just didn't know.
I think it's more
Which is
so.
which is also very, very interesting. You know,
Of course it is. It's huge scientific. It's huge scientifically, and I think that that's maybe if there is enough data, and Burchett is tied in rather enough with the Gary Nolans of the world and those people too. He's like, listen, am I putting my butt on the line here by doing this? And they say, well, yeah, you are, but the thing is, if there's enough data here that says there might be something to this. Now, this is the other side. Is there any way, we're throwing out fun speculations, because Burchett has been running the charge on these hearings. You got that breakdown from Laszlo that we're going to be potentially getting those 2 hearings in September. Is there any world where they say, hey, by the way, while we were setting up for this thing, we have evidence now from what we have found in Tennessee, And this is big. This is this, and they present some of the evidence that they've found, if it does indeed link to what we're talking about in the hearings.
That is Jaime Maussan's plan. That is what he's trying to do. I know that he's trying to convince Congresswoman Luna. And I know that the nuts and bolts people are going to go crazy if this happens.
Yeah.
This scenario, because they don't like this idea. They've always been against it. And I don't know what's going to happen. Jaime has gone really far already, and people are listening to him.
Isn't that nuts? Isn't it nuts though how that works? Isn't that nuts how? Isn't that nuts how that works though? Where it's like, even if, because like I told you in the beginning, and you and I have sent messages about this. You had asked me a bunch of times, never pushing on it, but you've always asked, "Hey, do you want to cover these stories today? About this topic." I'm like, no, not really. I don't really. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. But I'm not, feet in the ground like, no, it's absolutely not. I never say that about anything. If there was evidence that came out soon that scientists or whatever said, hey, listen, that Miami thing that was going on, there might actually be evidence here to prove that a lot of that thing was real. I'm not going to say, well, I don't believe it, so I'm never going to believe it. It's like, show me the evidence. I don't think that there's a unicorn down the block. But if you show me that there's evidence of a unicorn down the block, and you can prove that there's evidence that there was a unicorn down the block, then I'll believe it. If you can prove to me in the same way that the skeptics of this whole topic feel that way. And where we won't get into this whole thing today, but like the Lou Elizondo stuff, right? It's like,
can I take you through a small rabbit hole?
Sure.
Because there's another possibility, because there's another scientific group that it's working in secret with many of these specimens. Okay. The ones that are already recognized by University of Ica of being real.
Mm-hmm.
And they are right now leaning towards that these are ancient constructions. But even if they were, the technology that was used to construct these, if they were constructed, is far too advanced even for us right now. So that's another different rabbit hole. Right. I mean, if they say these are constructed, but they're ancient, it still leaves a lot of questions about who the hell made these.
The point is that we don't know anything. That's the point.
Yeah.
We don't know anything from all this. Everybody thinks they know everything, but that's the whole point of this topic. So there's more to this. It's all like this crazy chess piece. Like the whole thing is just a weird game of chess overall with everything going on right now, and I wonder how it's all going to fit in. But Pavel, as always, thanks for joining us. All right, guys, thank you for joining us here. What do you make of all this? And again, I don't necessarily need you. If you want to, you can, but I don't need you to say, well, I believe that this is what it is. It's definitely, it is an ancient species. It's not an ancient species. It's bullcrap. It's paper mache. If you want to, please go ahead and use the comments for that. But the question I'm asking you more so is, what do you make of the fact that Jaime Moussan can meet with a Tim Burchett, and Burchett's going to actually pay attention to it? Does that give it does that scratch your head and go, well, maybe there's a little bit more to this? It certainly does for me, because you're risking your career if it turns out that it is paper mache. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. As always, hit that subscribe button. We will have some more videos. We will have some more stuff. And if you want to help out this channel, you can join the membership. We have a membership where we do exclusive videos just for you guys, and you can be part of the conversation with myself, Pavel, and others. Or you go and get yourself one of our wonderful sponsors, and I'll tell you about both of those right now. This episode of Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let me ask you, what are your self-care non-negotiables? What is it, that you never skip a leg day or therapy day? Because when your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Because even when we know what makes us happy, it is hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. Therapy is very important. I've been in that position, man, when I haven't talked and I've let things bottled up, and it is not a good thing. You got to talk to people. And we've had people on our show that have said, listen, we've needed to speak to people. We had an opportunity to, and BetterHelp has been there for a lot of people very close in my life. Because if you don't know, it's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, it is flexible, and it is suited to your schedule. All you have to do is you fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. You got to visit betterhelp.com/DTE today. You get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/DTE. Guys, thanks for watching the show. Really appreciate you being here. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to hear about somebody I love, and that's Factor. Factor, to me, the meals are just delicious. And with sunny days here, fueling up with Factor there's no prep, there's no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus. Factory's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved, and they're ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always find time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. I cannot tell you guys. We've been working on this studio. We have been doing stuff. And Brett, who is here, if you don't know Brett is one of the best. He's a producer, and he works on this studio, and he's gotten it looking really, really good. Well, Brett gets hungry. I said, Brett, guess what? I got some good meals for you, and we got Factor. And Brett's been most energy I've seen him running around because he's been eating well with Factor. They have 35 meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, and you'll always have new flavors to explore. You got to treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. So if you head to factormeals.com/DTE50, you use that code DTE50, you'll get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code DTE50 at factormeals.com/DTE50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while subscription is active. Get it. You'll thank me for it. I appreciate it.